This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs, presented by Yahoo Fantasy. I am your host, Chris Raybon. NFL Week 1. It's here, people. As always, I am joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game. Top 5 over the past 3 seasons in season-long ranks at Fantasy Pros. Numerous first-place trophies for in-season ranks at Fantasy Pros. The odds maker, Sean Koerner. Sean, happy week 1. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We made it. Happy week 1. We finally get to see all these guys in action. Next week, we'll get our routes run data. I know you love that as much as I do.
Oh, yeah.
And actually go off things. But week 1 is all about vibes, you know? So looking forward to diving in. We got, waiver wires today.
You got any quick picks for who's going to be the most routes run without a target this in week 1?
Maybe Jahan Dotson. Haven't really thought about that quite
That's
yet.
a good one.
But yeah, I think he would be up there. Who do you got? Am I missing somebody?
Oof, I could see a Raider, like maybe a Thornton or a Tucker or whoever Cooper, whoever plays for them.
Tucker, don't tell Nick Giffen that. But yeah, the Raiders, they're tricky to project because Jacoby Myers, it looks like he's staying there. What's going on there? Yeah. So yeah, it could be pretty murky for the Raiders this week.
Yeah, Raiders and Chargers are a nightmare. But this is the waivers pod. Week 1, yes, there's waivers in week 1. You may have already gotten yourself into some hot water with your roster. So we're here to help. And we will go through our top targets at each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and yes, kicker as well. So that's what we got on tap here. Week 1 Fantasy Flex. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content available right now over at fantasylabs.com. All of our rankings, projections, everything you need is over at fantasylabs.com, the Fantasy Labs app as well. And you can still use promo code FLEX20, that's FLEX20, for $20 off an annual NFL subscription. That's how you make sure you get our in-season ranks, our waivers, all the stuff all season long. So we haven't seen any regular season football yet. Most drafts are wrapped, although, kind of weird schedule. So maybe some people still drafting. So, we're still updating our season long ranks and may get some more props in and whatnot. But it's week 1. We're getting in this groove. I love it. It's here. Let's talk waivers. Let's say you drafted a quarterback that you don't want to start this week. And there are some. We'll have our projections pod up next. If you're kind of on the fence at quarterback, if you're in need, who's your target week 1, Sean Koerner?
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence would be my target at home against the Panthers. He's still available in around half of Yahoo leagues, which makes sense. Most leagues are 10 to 12 team leagues that start one quarterback, maybe not that competitive, some of them. So, a guy like Trevor Lawrence absolutely should be available in quite a few leagues. But, you had talked him up all off season. I like him. Last year I was high on him and, I passed the torch to you this year. But he is absolutely worth the flyer as a late round, league winning quarterback. He has Brian Thomas Jr., could be one of the top receivers in the game already. Travis Hunter, I think people are sleeping on. I think you're correct. He's going to surprise people as a rookie, as a wide receiver. And he just happens to also play cornerback. So, people might take notice of Lawrence right away here because he has a great matchup at home against the Panthers. Great opening matchup for him. So he opens the week as my quarterback 10, which means, he's, a borderline top 10 play. Next week, he has the Bengals. So he might be even good, for 2 weeks here. And then who knows from there, he might be in our top 5 the rest of the way. So he's one of those guys that he was worth taking a flyer on. And he has an easy start to the season, so he's definitely my top streamer this week.
And if it all goes wrong with Trevor Lawrence, we got 400-yard Nick backing him up, Nick Mullins. So, that should be fun if it all hits the fan. But no, I love Trevor. I think the only thing to keep in mind, do have to monitor the weather. I know there is some precipitation in the forecast. I don't think it shouldn't, at this point, I'm not docking anything major. I still have this game as
Yeah.
one of the highest scoring games of the week. But definitely something to kind of pay attention to. And
it's still early. It looks like the most likely game to be, having steady rain is the Thursday night game, Cowboys and Eagles. But yeah, definitely something we'll have to monitor. It's only Tuesday, so anything can change. I mean, if it's raining hard, how much are you lowering a guy like
that's just Cowboy fans' tears. They got all the way from Texas to the East Coast. There's just a Cowboy fan tear front.
Yeah.
Caused by the Micah Parsons trade.
Yeah.
But if for some reason Trevor Lawrence is already taken, or things kind of escalate weather-wise, and I can't believe I'm saying this. This is like you got in the outline before me. You got Trevor Lawrence, and now I have to go against everything I stand for and recommend Daniel Jones. But I see it. I see it here for him because I think this Miami Dolphins secondary. I think it's going to have some issues. I think the cornerback situation is not great. I think I didn't like the trade. They got some guys in their front seven, but overall, indoor game, he's available in 95% of leagues going up against this Miami team. And he's another guy that I think could surprise. The one thing I will say about Daniel Jones, and I've kind of heard it, thrown out there, is I was looking at it like, okay, I mean, I still don't think it was a great sign that Minnesota didn't, try to bring him back. And, now they're all shuffling a bunch of guys and backups and whatnot and trading, wheeling and dealing. But when you're in that quarterback room, that guys tend to come out better for that. Maybe he follows in like a Darnold type of pass. And because he did kind of make the conscious decision not to go last year to like a Raiders team where he could have played right away. And he said it was kind of like, maybe fail right away. So that is a good sign. He didn't really impress me in the preseason or anything, but there is some upside here with Daniel Jones because he runs. And that's really all we want. A running quarterback, good weapons, decent line, indoor game. Not a real needle moving defensive matchup that I would be scared of at all. So Daniel Jones for me should be available in 19 out of every 20 leagues. So
welcome to the dark side, Raybon.
Oh yeah,
the water's warm.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna actually be talking about Daniel Jones in our projection pod as someone I'm high on. He's a great streamer as well. If someone like Trevor Lawrence is already scooped up. But yeah, I agree with what you said. When has Daniel Jones ever failed us? So I think he's a high floor lock this weekend going forward for sure.
Man, I mean, I just hope they kind of let him do, like, they just give him the same amount of, imagine they give him the same amount of design runs as Anthony Richardson. Because, I mean, Anthony Richardson would get hurt every 5 seconds, and they would just, like, he would come right back in the game, and they would just run right off tackle again.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is more capable of, like, protecting his body. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they do that, and he stays healthy. And this has to be his best group of pass catchers he's ever had, right? I mean, he had some decent ones in New York, but it seemed like one or two of them were always hurt. But this is definitely, like, I think his best supporting cast ever.
I think Tyler Warren really cements it, because the receivers are always going to be solid there. You can go four deep, and I even thought Anthony Gold looked good in the preseason for the Colts. So yeah, they could surprise. I hate to say it, they could surprise. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, week 1 is the time to kind of get behind that anyway. So maybe he turns into a every week starter. Who knows?
Yep.
All right, let's go to running back. Running back is tricky. There's a lot of kind of murky situations, and I think none more murkier than the Cleveland Browns. Yep. Now, the reason we have to talk about the Cleveland Browns and even probably end up targeting backs on the Browns is because they are going up against the Bengals. That could be fruitful. I have some thoughts on that too, but you like Ford here for the Browns.
Yeah, so Jerome Ford available still in 57% of Yahoo leagues. That's pretty widely available for a guy who's potentially a week 1 starter, at least nominally. Rookie Dylan Sampson is also available in 53% of leagues. Also, same type of ad. I think he and Ford will probably split work early on. But rookie Quinshon Judkins still hasn't signed. It does sound like they're coming closer to an agreement there. So either way, I think Judkins probably won't play his first snaps until week 4 or so, is what I'm hearing. So you have 2 backs that are available in over half leagues that will probably be producing, RB3 flex value. And like you said, it's murky. You kind of have to be in a desperate situation to actually lean on one of these guys. So that's why I went with Ford, because he's probably going to take more of the passing down work than Sampson, which is important because he plays for the Browns. They're going to be in trailing pass-heavy game script. So I'm going to lean Ford here. But still, just heading into week 1, most of the really good running backs are already scooped up. So it's kind of interesting that we have a guy like Ford still available in so many leagues. And it could turn into like a Chuba Hubbard type play where he looks like a 3-week rental to start the season, performs well, and he's good play for the rest of the season. Maybe not as good as Chuba, but same kind of logic that led me to adding Chuba in some leagues last year. So I like Ford and Sampson if they're available and you need help early in the season.
Yeah, any thoughts on because they did claim Rocket Sanders. Would you take a flyer on him too? Because the one thing I keep noticing with the Browns is they like that they drafted Judkins over, who was it, Travion, right? So they clearly want a bigger back, and then they go and use a waiver claim on a running back, which is odd. And it was Rocket Sanders, who's like kind of that big back. So I almost wonder if he feels like the Chubb role. And then it's like because they did have a three-way thing going last year. So I almost wonder if Sanders, if he's active, I think I would probably throw him in that Sampson Ford mix too, because I'm right with you. I'm like, I don't know the answer, but I definitely want to have, like, I'm scooping all these backs just kind of because I don't think Judkins, if any one of them blow up, Judkins might. I mean, he missed everything in the last couple month or two, so he might be behind the 8 ball period. So I think it's worth scooping up any Browns back that is going to be active on Sunday. Ford is the most available, Sampson's right after him, and then Sanders is the most available. But I just had that thought that they might actually use him in like that. Maybe it might just be like the Foreman role, but you never know. So.
Yeah, Sanders. I think Sanders is like sneaky long-term, like definitely like a dynasty stash in my league where we have like 9 running backs on our team. But Raybon, there's some people who were showing me their team over the weekend where like Braylon Allen's available in the league. So,
oh my goodness, yes,
there's some leagues that just like you can't.
I was hoping somebody draft, and they almost took a kicker over Braylon Allen.
Oh my god. No. You're killing
and Jaden Blue was there too.
So these exist. So like in those leagues, you're probably not adding a guy like Raheem Sanders, but your point, like this backfield's so volatile that anything can happen. And I thought Sanders was kind of sneaky on the Chargers if like Najee Harris were to miss time. I thought that he could pop there, and that was on the Chargers. So he's kind of sneaky. He missed the early part of preseason. He was banged up. But he's an undrafted back who is a bigger body back, so he could kind of fit that Judkins role until he returns. So I think he's definitely sneaky, maybe like a GPP, something like that. But definitely
touchdown.
Absolutely, maybe sneak peek to our pod later this week. But I think he's definitely somebody to keep tabs on for sure.
Who else you like a running back?
Yeah, the other back I think is just too widely available heading into the season. It's Trey Benson. Still just, 63% of the leagues on Yahoo, he's still sitting there, which again, it makes sense. Some leagues, the bench depth isn't big enough to have a guy like Benson on every, in every league. But I think that he's a solid backup running back to have on your bench because he's going to offer high-end RB2 value if James Conner ever misses time, which I pointed out typically happens 2 to 3 games every year since Conner was in the league 7 or 8 years ago. And there's been some buzz where, Benson could see enough of a workload even when Conner's healthy. He could eke out RB3 flex value, which makes him even more valuable. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. I still think Conner will be, the clear lead back. But I think Benson's one of those high floor, high ceiling type backups that should definitely be rostered in more than 37% of leagues right now. So if it makes sense to kind of stash him on your bench and he's available, I would absolutely do it heading into week 1, because I mean, if James Conner were to get hurt this week, you're gonna have to blow a number 1 waiver, all your fab on Benson if that occurs. So I like to already stash those guys before something like that happens.
Did the fact that they kept Bam Knight on the active roster change your projection at all? Because like they always had 4 backs, but the 4th back usually special teams kind of player. But DJ Dallas pretty much did not get any carries, even though he was active every week. But I feel like Bam Knight is more of like a Benson type of back, right? Like you think that's like why he's available? Like people are kind of a little nervous.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting because I haven't moved it at all because of Bam Knight. Maybe I should. Maybe you can convince me to do that. But kind of the appeal of Benson was after Connor and Benson, there's literally no one there. We do not care about DeMercado. Michael Carter, I think, was sneaky. But
he's on the practice squad still.
Yeah. So it's just like all these guys. Keontae Ingram was another guy. We just had zero concern. So if you're telling me there's a back that might steal 1 carry away from Benson, then that hurts Benson's potential RB3 flex case when Connor's healthy. But either way, I think Benson is still one of the best backup running backs in terms of his contingency upside. So I don't think it changes much there. But yeah, if Bam Knight proves to be a solid back, I know he had some decent games. What was it, on the Jets? If it looks like
he's still pretty young.
Yeah, if it looks like he can carve out a big enough role when Connor goes down to kind of like prevent Benson from being a high-end RB2, I would kind of update from there. But I don't think it's enough to warrant Benson being available in 63% of leagues right now. I just think he's the type of backup running back I definitely kind of want to have stashed. And then, we could revisit things if there's usage concerns after week 1. But I think still going in, I think Benson's one of the top enough backups to be, he shouldn't be available in over half leagues is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just wondered if maybe other people kind of had that same thought of like, maybe people are nervous. Like, I think Benson is headed, like, I think they want to give him more work this year, but that was kind of, I was also surprised that they kept Bam Knight on the roster too. So I got to look into that, but just betting some Keon Coleman unders.
What happened?
Gabe Davis signed. I feel like that's the X receiver spot usually. So I wish now they look like they've taken down Palmer though. I just kind of want to bet all those Bills receivers under if they're signing Gabe Davis. That's not great news considering they had like, maybe it's just a Shakir thing, but I feel like that doesn't really
could be a Shakir thing. Curtis Samuel's already dealing with. Looks like he has 2 ailments.
That too. That's
so here we go again. But
still, like those guys weren't supposed. Like Samuel wasn't supposed to factor into the Coleman Palmer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah.
it's like,
and
then Coleman's the X.
That was a cheap jab at Curtis Samuel. But yeah, I think it's just why not bring Gabe back? You probably get him super cheap, right? Or like why not?
I mean, because Coleman was supposed to play like 90% of the snaps at the X like he was to start last year, but then now this might be like another playoff Cooper situation where it's like 50% everybody, but yeah. All right. That's interesting. Okay. For me, Ollie Gordon, he's available in 65% of leagues. He should be the RB2 in week 1. They are going to have a 3rd back active, obviously. Probably be a practice squad call up like a Jeff Wilson. I would guess. I think Hasty's also on the roster, but Jalen Wright looks like he's going to miss. Devon Achane, he was banged up. He should be good to go, but we know the Dolphins have kind of used a committee at times, especially when they got young guys they like, or just guys they like, period. And I think Gordon has shown enough to where he could end up in that Raheem Mostert role. And, Miami is a team that just, it looks like a mess. It's been looking like a mess all offseason, but number one, they're playing the Colts indoors in week 1. And, maybe McDaniel kind of has it together and, they got some talent back on the roster and Tyreek Hill's taking notes and he was actually paying attention in meetings now. So who knows? You got to kind of pay attention to the entire range of outcomes. And I think one of the outcomes is that this offense could potentially get back to where it was, at least maybe running the ball. I still don't like their offensive line, but I do think Gordon has a chance to kind of jump into that Mostert role that we saw, that was so profitable a couple years ago with, just a whole bunch of goal line work and then enough work, to kind of be a flex every week, borderline anyway. And I really like what I've seen out of him this preseason too. I thought he's run well. I don't think Jalen Wright is long for the RB2 role in Miami. He might not get his job back actually now that he's hurt in week 1. So yeah, Gordon's the guy I want to add now because I think it could potentially be a full season, kind of turn into a Raheem Mostert, because we didn't expect Mostert to do what he did that year either.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to buy in Gordon because I think he has borderline value for week 1, cheap touchdown in a game where they could definitely put up some points. And then if you might get a full season kind of flex starter. So Gordon.
Yeah. His values has been skyrocketing. First when, Madison had his season ending injury, because I thought, he was probably going to be the goal line back initially, and then they'd figure out Gordon was the better back. But yeah, Gordon's value has been shooting up. He might be what people are expecting from Bill Krosky. You know that meme, the guy with the girlfriend where he's turning around looking at the chick in the red dress?
Yeah.
The girl in the red dress is Ollie Gordon. That's who we should be diverting our attention to right now, and should be scooped up wherever possible. I agree. Yeah.
I still want Bill though. I know. I think I heard a beat writer say, "Oh, like they're gonna feature Chris." Like, cool. I mean, the only thing that changed on the roster was that they got this guy Bill, and then they were like, you know what? Like Chris Rodriguez has been there for like years, man. I agree. Yeah. He looks better. He should be a part of the team, but he's another guy that just doesn't give you as much in the pass game, and it seems like that's what they want. So I think if I'm buying the dip on Bill all day.
Did you see his prop, his rushing yards prop?
What is it?
It was like 21.5 at open. I'm sure it's been bet up, but
first carry.
Well, there you go. It's got to be over 30 by now. But yeah, it might not shock me if week 1 it's kind of a murky mess. When you're adding a guy like Bill, you're just expecting week 3 on anyway. And it could take some time. Same thing with Ollie Gordon. H-N looking good to go, but Gordon was he was a Heisman candidate back in 2023. Had a rough season last year, but he's already flashed massive upside. So yeah, like Ollie Gordon is one of the top bench stashes as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, because in week 1, there's always going to be guys that you kind of temper expectations for as rookies, and some guys are kind of overdrafted or whatnot, but at least for early season production. But at the end of the day, they're also in week 1 tend to be, as you mentioned, with the data, like the routes data and just the snap data, there's usually a few guys who just right off the bat are just full-time players that you didn't even expect it. And I think there's an outside shot that could just be Ollie Gordon. You know what I mean? Yep. Like he's looked good enough to where I could see, because I think McDaniel knows like H-N is so valuable that if you can take a few of those inside carries, short yards, whatever away, that's why he had Mostert in that role. So yeah, love Gordon, love Bill too. He shouldn't be available anywhere, so hopefully he's not. But I guess you could pick up Chris Rodriguez speculatively as well. Eckler, I mean, they're all those guys, right? All right, so wide receiver, you shouldn't have a need on your roster. I know you've been kind of loading up early on wide receiver, and I think that's the way to do it, because you're not going to find as many guys late on the waiver that are going to turn into these bona fide, stud number 1 guys. But there are a few guys I think that are available widely that we want to add with kind of the bigger picture in mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're adding a guy from the waiver wire to start at wide receiver week 1, you did your draft wrong. Maybe you took a guy like Rashee Rice and you do need some added depth early in the season. So I think, the first guy I'm going to talk about, Marvin Mims. He's available in 58% of Yahoo leagues. He would be a guy that, I think is probably too widely available considering he's inside my top, 45 to open the season. It's really tough to find anybody ranked inside the top 50 available on the waiver wire. But he's been dealing with a groin injury, but he was back at practice yesterday. So it looks like he's a full go for week 1, but you got to, monitor the injury report. But, he should open up as the clear number 2 wide receiver for the Broncos. And, Bo Nix is a quarterback I think could make an even bigger leap this year, which means we want more than just Cortland Sutton or Evan Ingram from their pass catching group. And Mims, he already flashed massive upside. He was the wide receiver 6 over the final 6 games last season. Just had massive upside, winning downfield, getting design carries, kind of like a Deebo Samuel type role. So he's the kind of guy that I think it is worth taking a flyer on to begin the year. If you need the depth. Plus, they trade away Devon Vele, which kind of opens up more playing time and targets for these more ancillary receivers for the Broncos. So I think Mims is a guy that, he's probably, way too available, being available in 58% of leagues right now. And like I said, opening up week 1 inside my top 45.
Yeah, I think the key, we talked about it on a prior pod, was that, and the Broncos are weird. So sometimes they don't always, their preseason usage doesn't always carry over. But Mims played with every snap with the starters pretty much, like 90% plus. When you mentioned that wide receiver 6 finish, he was playing about 35-40% of the snaps. It's nuts. So imagine, a full-time role now. And I think the number 3 receiver is probably going to be Franklin to start the year. And then eventually the plan is to kind of get Bryant, to play all 3 of those positions. But at least in the preseason, from what we've seen and in camp, he's been backing up Sutton at the X, and they traded Vele to kind of get, to open up some room for everyone. But if it means Mims is anywhere close to a full-time player, massive. Love it. Massive upside. Who else you like?
Yeah, the other guy is, this is more for deeper leagues, but Xavier Legette is available in 86% of leagues. Everyone's talking about how Ted McMillan's stock continues to climb because, we've seen Adam Thielen get traded away, and now it looks like Jalen Coker is going to miss, the first 4 to 6 weeks here. But Ted's already owned and in everyone's starting lineup for week 1. So Legette's the guy to add, as he should be the clear number 2 target all of a sudden. And even Ted is dealing with a hamstring injury, so who knows how healthy he's going to be for week 1. So Legette's stock has gone way up. And we have to remember, he was a rookie last year. He was a first-round pick. Still has, unrealized upside. I know he was a bit inconsistent last year, but it wouldn't be too surprising for a guy like him to bounce back and have a year 2 breakout. But the path is certainly there with, Thielen gone, Coker out the first several weeks. So if you need some early season help in deeper leagues, Legette's a solid option, and he opens up as my wide receiver 50 to start the season. Mostly for deeper leagues and maybe DFS props, things like that. But his stock's way up right now.
Yeah, and I like him a lot because he's another one of those guys where it just kind of sets up really well for him, because clearly the Panthers, I feel like they brought Renfrow back because of, the developments with the Thielen and then the Coker injury. But it looked like they didn't have an intention to even keep Renfrow on the roster. But the fact that Renfrow was even in the mix and Thielen was still there, it also meant that Jimmy Horn, who's another candidate for the slot role, is, they probably view him as more of like a return man, special teamer to start his career. And so Legette kind of is in this, he can move around now because Tet is going to be the X. So Legette can play his slot. They can scheme him up stuff like Z slot, just kind of get him better matchups, unless it's just Travis Hunter in week 1. But hopefully it's not too much Travis Hunter. But yeah, I think Legette kind of is the big winner there. And it is flying under the radar, because what they could do, and they've done this in the past, it could be Legette in the slot, Tet, and Canales' boy, David Moore. And those 3 would be the top 3 route runners. So either way, I think Legette, it comes out a winner here, because last year he was playing a lot more X, and that I just don't think that was a good fit for him. And in general, those are the guys that end up, get a lot of press coverage. You get those 1 target on 20 routes some games. It's not a good look, but yeah, it's good spot for Legette. Good matchup week 1 against the Jags. I got to go with Torrey Horton. He's still available in, am I reading this right? 83% of leagues? Oh my goodness. That is absurd. This guy, he's already a starter for this team pretty much. So he had an ankle injury in week 2 of the preseason, and that's kind of why I guess it's been murky. But he's a guy I know you love, Sean. Really talented guy. Allowed them to move on from Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And this is a team that we expect to kind of go with a lot more 2 tight end personnel. And what that means, though, is that Cooper Kupp might not always be on the field. He might be more of like a slot only, 1-1 personnel only. So there's even a chance that Horton, just by having this other perimeter receiver role locked down, could end up being the number 2 receiver in routes run even from week 1 if he can play. And they seem like they're cautiously optimistic, but he's got enough talent that there's not many receivers really that you're gonna find late that are gonna blow up. So if he's gonna be available in like 8 out of 10 leagues, he's even probably talented enough that he's worth a stash for a week and just run it back in week 2 if he ends up being inactive in week 1. But I think Horton is being majorly slept on. And the Niners, we don't know their defense. They got some injuries in the secondary, so he could pop if he goes right off the bat here. I would have him pretty high, like borderline top 50. Like you said, there's not a ton of value in week 1, but I think when you combine the week 1 kind of borderline value with the big picture value where he could be a flex or even a wide receiver 3 this year, I think he's a guy you want to grab now. So Horton definitely should not be available in this many leagues, injury or not.
Agreed. And yeah, like with MVS gone, all we need is like Cooper Kupp to look like shit week 1, and Horton could be in play as soon as week 2. So he's a early season stash. It might be a while till we could play him, but he should absolutely be rostered in a lot more than 11% of leagues so far.
Yeah, he's probably the key to Cooper Kupp being decent, because he can preserve Kupp for just playing in those 3 wide. He doesn't have to run block as much. You know what I mean? Like, so that it actually might work against your prop, but I still think it's a good bet. Kupp under 700. But we'll get to tight end next. But before we move on, let's do a segment presented by Yahoo Fantasy that we are calling Waiver Wire Wisdom. Sean Koerner, we're going to get a piece of advice from you here. What is something that fantasy managers often overlook when dealing with the waiver wire?
I think it's just knowing when to be aggressive on the waiver wire. So that's, using your number 1 waiver or your entire fab budget. But I think it depends on your roster state, what positions you're weak at, whether you're in win now mode or, preparing for the playoffs, things like that. But I think you need to realize if you're getting, say, a 1 to 2 week rental versus a rest of season option. So an example would be if, Jonathan Taylor tweaks his ankle and he's going to miss, 1 to 2 games. A guy like DJ Giddens would be a top pickup that week, but, he's probably only going to provide you value for those 1 to 2 games and then go right back on your bench. Whereas if Jonathan Taylor suffers a, significant or season long ending injury, Giddens is now going to offer value the rest of the season. So in the latter case, when he's going to offer value the rest of the season, that's when I go all in or be super aggressive on that type of player. So I think it's just understanding, how long his spike in value is expected to last.
Totally agreed. And it's going to skew to running back as well.
Yeah.
Don't blow your, unless it's got to be a generational kind of wide receiver. It comes along a lot less frequently. So yeah, that kind of goes without saying, but great advice there. That's our waiver wire wisdom segment presented by Yahoo Fantasy. And as a reminder, this episode of the Fantasy Flex podcast is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is here. Fantasy football is taking over. Everyone's research and drafting, putting together their championship squads. So if you haven't joined the league yet, now is the time. And it's all happening over on Yahoo Fantasy. That is where Sean Koerner and I are playing this year, and you should too. So whether you are a first-time player or a veteran making your 1 millionth league, it's time to tap in. The NFL season starts September 4th. Now is the time to start playing on Yahoo Fantasy Football. It offers a bunch of fun ways to compete. If you want more ways to play, you can try the new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode where the lowest scoring team gets chopped each week. If you want to play instantly with friends, you could try the new Draft with Friends mode. If you want to play a classic mode, you still can get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. And if you're looking for a new crew to join, try a public league, the easiest way to play and meet some new peeps. It's all possible with Yahoo Fantasy. So get started and play now at yahoofantasy.com/flex. That's yahoofantasy.com/flex. Tight end. Oh man, seems like a old Fantasy Flex favorite is back in your crosshairs, Koerner. Who you got?
Yep. Yeah, I'm going with K. Dutton, available in 93% of Yahoo leagues.
Wow.
So he's the top guy that's available in more than half the leagues against the Falcons this week. But he has a leg injury. He's questionable for week 1, but he returned limited practice Monday. So, he's at least trending in the right direction, but one of the many guys we need to monitor throughout the week. But I think he could be a high-end tight end too this week. He's always going to be running a ton of routes. But the thing with, Otton, and I mentioned it before last season, he had always played with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being healthy. And then coincidentally, both missed time at the same time last year, and he was like a top 5 tight end. So anytime he can move up the target pecking order, we need to take notice. And that's the case heading into week 1. Obviously they drafted Mecca Ibuka, who I'm high on. He'll be out there. Mike Evans will be out there. But, Chris Godwin looks like he's going to, miss the first couple games. And then who knows from there. Jalen McMillan is also he's expected to miss like the first half of the season. So, Otton's going to be the number 3 target most likely, which I think helps boost his, floor a bit. So, yeah, he opens the week as my tight end 15. Should be a good matchup against the Falcons. He had his best game against them last year, 9 catches, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So I think it's a sneaky spot if you're looking for, a pinch play this week, tight end.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with K. Dotton as well. But the K. Dotton in Florida on Liam Cohn's team. Because K. Dotton was Liam Cohn's K. Dotton last year, but the new K. Dotton is Brenton Strange. Your guy, Brenton Strange. Same, everything you said about K. Dotton kind of applies to Brenton Strange, except the Mike Evans, situation. But, Diami Brown, Parker Washington, and maybe even Hunter, and then they just added Tim Patrick. So Brenton Strange actually may be, if he gets that same Otton role, which we expect, he might be the number 2 behind Michael Thomas in routes run on the Jaguars every week. So another guy who I think worth a stream in week 1. The Panthers were bottom 3 in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position last season. I think this pass defense is still going to struggle a lot this year. And the most touchdowns to tight ends with 11 for the Panthers last year. So that's all you're looking for, especially with these streamers. If you can get in the end zone, I think the Jaguars should score a lot of points. I think Liam Cohen and this offense hit the ground running. And if you can't get Otton, get Strange. I think they're kind of neck and neck here with kind of a similar route profile and same coordinator that Otton had last year. Strange has this year. Great matchup for Strange. Great matchup for Otton. So yeah, those two guys. And 93% of leagues is Otton available. 78% of leagues Strange is available. So you should be able to get one or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could just turn into every week starters. So great options available at tight end. Defense, special teams now gets a little interesting, Sean. I mean, you got in the outline first, so you get to give the best play, the best stream by far, I think, of the week.
I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals, available in 65% of Yahoo leagues. What are we doing? Hopefully, you just didn't draft a kicker or defense, and that's why they're so available. You're stashing a couple more backup running backs until the last minute. But when the time comes, you have to add the Cardinals to be your streaming defense. this week. They open up as my number 2 defense. And a big part of that is they're facing the Saints this week. Any defense facing this, the Saints is going to get a boost, at least early in the season, because, Spencer Rattler, he's drawn the week 1 start. Last year, he had the 3rd highest turnover worthy play rate, the 10th highest pressure to sack rate, out of 44 qualified quarterbacks. Those are what we're looking for when it comes to streaming defenses. So, the Cardinals, they upgraded the D line. They brought in Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell. So I think they improved this defense. But either way, they're my week 1 streamer. Got to add them. And then, they face the Panthers at home in week 2. Week 2 looks pretty rough. A lot of the good matchups are defenses that are already taken. So you might end up using the Cardinals for the first 2 weeks. So I think they're, the streaming play this week and potentially next week as well.
Over under 12.5 points did the Saints average per Spencer Rattler start last year?
Let's go with under.
Yeah, it was 12.3 by my calculations.
Oh,
so it's pretty bad. So
yeah,
and the Cardinals were last, I want to say 6 weeks of the season, they were one of the top defenses in points per game. And yeah, they love the ads that they made. They might finally have put it all together on that end. So yeah, I think it's a great matchup for them. They're clearly far and away the best streamer, but if you got to kind of go a little deeper, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I actually like the Bengals against the Browns. And it's because as bad as the Bengals defense was last year, and my, was it bad? Double-digit points in both games against the Browns last year. Still don't like the Browns' left tackle situation. Still don't think Joe Flacco I don't think he's even what he was in 2023 or so he might not even be what he was in 2024. So I think that, he's kind of coming off this high of, I think he had like a 9 out of 10 preseason showing or something. So everyone's kind of, it's the calm before the Joe Flacco implosion. It's like when Jameis Winston has good vibes and he's, mic'd up and he's hyping everybody up. And then like he starts throwing footballs and you're like, oh, no. And I also think there is a little bit of upside with this Bengal team, because usually what happens is Deshaun Watson actually went 15-17 against the Bengals, and then I think that was the game he got hurt. But that's the whole thing. Now they have a new coordinator. For the longest time, they've had Anarumo, and I feel like Stefanski eventually kind of was on the verge of figuring it out, and now it's they're switching it up. They got Hendrickson back in there. They got some younger guys, some more speed in the front seven. So I think this is actually a good, probably the best matchup the Bengals defense, and might be the only time they're useful. But if they are going to take a step forward, and Anarumo was more of an issue than we kind of let on, it's also like a nice buy low opportunity here against what I think is the worst offense in the league, and they don't have their, they're going to be kind of wheeling and mixing and matching at running back. Left tackle is still a mess. The line is a shell of itself. The receivers are, it's just nobody might get open. It's except Fannin, our guy Fannin. But it could be a mess. And the Bengals offense has played in the preseason, so that means they could build a lead, because what usually happens is the Bengals just shit the bed on offense and kind of keep teams in it. So I like everything about the with the Bengals. I hate to say it because it's disgusting, but I wanted to get your quick thoughts, Koerner. Do you think there should be more kick returns this year? Do you think it's going to kind of factor into how we look at these streamers a little bit more? Like, are you going to pay more attention to the returns? Because it seems like no one's going to want to give up that touchback on the kickoff this year. So everyone's going to you're going to get more return opportunities. I don't know. Do you think those are like the same probability of kind of taking to the house as the old ones, or are you factoring that in at all?
I'm not factoring in yet, but yeah, you make a good point, and it might not move the needle enough to be, really altering our rankings too much. But yeah, that would be another layer that we would certainly need to check. But I was going to say that, the Bengals, they're a bad defense, but when it comes to projecting defense / special teams, which you're bringing up. Really, the most predictive things still are points allowed. This week against the Browns, check, and sacks, check. Because Trey Hendrickson, he finally signed. If he wasn't there, you wouldn't be able to use the Bengals defense. Shamar Stewart ended his holdout. He's playing, so at least the defensive line should be good enough to get 2 to 3 sacks, and then touchdowns from that point are kind of lucky. But like you said, if the Bengals build a lead and now Flacco has to drop back 40, 50 times, that just increases the chances of turnovers and pick sixes and things like that. So that's all you want when it comes to streaming defenses. So yeah, if you miss out on the Cardinals, I think the Bengals this week, and maybe only this week, are a solid option.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring up the return game is because I also like the return of Charlie Jones, who also kind of ran away with that number 4 receiver job.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because they had Burton and then Tinsley played really well, but it seems like Jones is going to be that number 4. But he returned a punt for a touchdown his rookie year, and then he returned a kick for a touchdown last year. So that I think that is something you kind of want to. Yeah. It's not high probability, but for Jones it has been a little higher than the average. Right. So just a nice little bonus there, kind of pulling me toward the Bengals, but fingers crossed. Kicker streamer, I like this one. Where you going?
Yeah. I'm going with Cam Little, available in 67% of leagues, almost 70%, which is crazy because unless you've been living under a rock, Cam Little made a 70-yard field goal in the preseason with room to spare outdoors. So the longest kick ever made. Granted, it was preseason, but it just goes to show that they could trust this guy from any distance. Sure would have loved that with our Jaguars plus 6.5 bet the other week. They passed up a 55-yarder to cover the spread. Don't get me going on that. But he would have been 95% to make that one. He made another long one that game too. But I'm all in on Cam Little to start the season. You got to add him. He quietly had a good rookie season too. He made 93% of his kicks. 5 for 6 from 50, so he's already shown accuracy from deep. Only turned 22 a couple of weeks ago, so this could be the best kicker we've ever seen. Who knows? And the Jags offense should be better this year under Liam Cohen. They have Travis Hunter there, so they're projected for almost 4 more points per game this year if you look at book odds. And the Jaguars face the Panthers this week. They have the 7th highest team total, so. And they're at Cincinnati next week, which could be a shootout. So, yeah, I like starting the season with Cam Little, and he might be a top 5 kicker the rest of the way because anytime they get across the 50, they might let him attempt to kick at this point.
Yeah, it kind of reminds, again, we talk about Liam Cohen a lot, but this is a perfect matchup. Last year he was in week 1, they were playing the Commanders. And it was kind of a middling team total for the Bucks, and they ended up, I think, putting up 37 points in that game. And so I could see something similar happening. This Panther defense is not very good. Yeah. And so for everyone out there, we recommended a lot of Jaguars. Don't just pick up the best option. Like if you end up, if it's Lawrence and Little, don't worry about it. Like those are the best options. Don't worry about the correlation. Also, you don't have to seek it out. Don't like, oh, well, I got Lawrence, so now I'm, definitely going to get like the Little if there's even a better kicker available. But a lot of Jags. So I just wanted to point that out because I know a lot of people always ask, like, the correlations. Just play your best guys each and every week. Don't worry about the correlation in redraft unless there are times you can kind of do like get into the weeds with that, but it's week 1. You just want to kind of add the highest and play the best guys. But for me, Jake Elliott, he's available by half Yahoo leagues. And the thing about the Eagles, and I know there's, there could be some rain. So that's, again, something to watch. But I just don't see how the Eagles still don't put up a ton of points, and points equals kicker value. Philly put up 41 and 35 against Dallas last season. Both games, Elliott had multiple field goals attempts and made them. And he had 4+ PAT attempts and made them. So he went combined 4 for 4 in field goals and 9 of 9 on PATs. If there's, if the weather could also be a positive for the kicker. Maybe Jalen Hurts is a little rusty and misses a couple to AJ Brown that would have been touchdowns. So I'm not going to let that move me off when I have the Eagles with super high team total, especially after the Cowboys traded Michael Parsons. So like Elliott, if he's available, he's another option. But I do like Little because I think just like we saw with Aubrey a couple years ago, where they just kind of moved the it's just kind of moving the needle on what you would expect from a kicker. It's like all of a sudden Aubrey, anytime you're inside the 50, it's like let it fly. And so the Little I could see kind of same type of deal. So love him. Could be the kicker one this year. I wouldn't put it out of the question.
Absolutely.
But
and I actually changed my kicker model this year to kind of adjust like how aggressive teams are. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. We can't talk about this on the. We don't talk about kickers on it. Let me talk about it now then. I do like before the 50 expected field goals, and then beyond the 50 is more of like the kicker coach, dynamic. And after a guy booms a 70-yarder, something like that, my model goes way up. So he was kicker 23 in my old model, and he's kicker 5 this week in my new model. I like the new model much better.
Welcome. I thought I was the only one. I was embarrassed to even talk, but I have a model for kicker attempts 50 plus, a kicker accuracy 50 plus, and then a sole separate model for inside for 40 to 50, and then another separate model for chip shots, accuracy and attempts, because it's a team oriented, and it matters for the kicker because if you just use one model, like certain teams are just not going to attempt long kicks with certain kickers because they can't hit those kicks. And so you got to kind of capture that. And with guys like a guy like Little, we know that he can capture it. He just suffered last year because the Jags sucked. So if they make that 4 point, Liam Cohen, what was it? The Bucks 20 to 29, 20 and a half to 29 and a half. They jumped 9. So 4 might even be selling them short. But it's a medium. I get it. But I could see Cam Little being the kicker 1. Yeah. Remember Bates? We were talking about Bates last season. I was like, dude, this guy Bates is that's all you need. And then Reichert was killing it for a while. Reichert. It's always a new flavor.
Reichert got hurt, but he was on pace to just be phenomenal. So who knows if the injury impacted him. But and look, I give kickers shit before the season just because I say don't draft him doesn't mean I don't take the projection seriously. Once we get to week 1, we need to know who to stream. So now I'm like all in on kicker projections. So hopefully we can pick this up next week because I want to dive in more on kicker projections.
Oh yeah. Oh, we can talk about it. Now that you're doing the 50 thing. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about. But that's gonna do it. And this is what you're gonna get all year long. But it's gonna be accurate. It's been accurate. It's gonna keep being accurate. We're gonna do all this kind of research every week for you, and get you all the top plays at every position, so you can win your leagues. Week 1 NFL Fantasy Flex Waivers presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Be sure to subscribe to the pod so you don't miss an ep. All season long, we'll be back with our player projections episode where we go through each position, give our top 5, throw out some props, give guys we're high and low on, and then we'll have a touchdown show later in the week with our favorite TD scores. If you're into that, if you're into parlaying those, had a lot of success in the postseason last year with those, so really excited for that. We'll have our guy Joe Gallant on for that as well, so a known touchdown degenerate, so that should be fun. And of course, you can also find Stuck and I on the Action Network podcast. Be sure to subscribe there too. That's where we'll have most all of our betting content, I should say. Koerner is on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Thanks again to our sponsor, Yahoo Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy football. Happy week 1. Let's get this money.